Today's pitch is likely to be different to most others because my approach is different to most others. I often find myself reading or listening to pitches of others and thinking to myself, this is back to front, upside down thinking. So I don't know if you're familiar with Ronald Coase, the British economist and Nobel laureate, but he once said that if you torture the data for long enough, it will confess to anything. And that kind of just about sums up what I'm trying to say. The issue is that we live in a world full of quants, and they tend to torture data to death with DCF models, capital asset pricing models, calculating WACC, and all sorts of other nonsense, but paying very little regard to qualitative aspects of the business. So I do the opposite, which I believe gives me an edge. And if an investment has the attributes that I look for, then I formulate an investment hypothesis in my mind and then move on to the data as a secondary level to see if it supports my thesis. And only if it does, will I invest. So kind of moving on to today's pitch without further ado, a subscriber of my Substack reached out to me and said that he'd recently read my book, Fabric of Success. And he thought that he'd stumbled across a hidden gem of a business that met most of my investment criteria. Now, incidentally, this is exactly what motivated me to write the book. It provides what Charlie Munger used to refer to as a series of mental models that help to identify great investment opportunities. So, essentially it pulls on the golden threads that run through the tapestry of every successful business. And by recognizing these golden threads, it becomes possible to spot them in other companies, which is generally the basis on which I invest. So this subscriber of my Substack thought that it spotted a largely unknown business, which demonstrated most of these golden threads. And so when he reached out to me, it piqued my interest, appearing to be a small but high quality business with an impressive management team, a market leading position and favourable growth prospects. And the deeper I went, the better it looked. So here today, I'll share it with you. And the company is Haivision. It's a Canadian company. So let me give you an overview of the company. So it was established in 2004 and it's still led by its founder 2 decades later. It's grown its top line revenue at nearly 23% CAGR for the 16 years until its IPO in 2020. And get this, all of that growth was achieved from the initial $8 million investment with no further funding being required until the recent IPO. And we all love capital light businesses because they're far easier to scale. And so, that certainly ticked one of my boxes. Now, the IPO capital raise in 2020 was needed for strategic acquisitions and to invest in organic growth. Opportunities started to unfold and the CEO recognized that if he wanted to grow quickly, he would need more capital at that point. So that IPO marks what I consider to be a very pivotal moment for accelerated growth for Haivision. Now, it's also worthy of note that the IPO was 2020, as I mentioned, which was a challenging year in any event because of COVID and all the rest of it. But since the IPO, revenue is up 62%, but the share price is down 48%. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, okay, the company was obviously hugely overpriced and it's corrected, but you'd be wrong. The company is poorly understood. It's got low analyst coverage. Only 4 small wealth management firms cover it and none of the big Wall Street names. And the reason for the sell-off is easily explained and it's at the heart of the investment opportunity. So, let's look under the hood. Before we dig into the business itself, my mantra on investing is always that the management is the most important part of the thesis. The same company with different management is no longer the same company in my view. So, just think about Apple under John Sculley and Steve Jobs. Think about IBM under Thomas Watson and then Lou Gerstner. Or Intel, which was led by, Bob Noyce, Andy Grove and Gordon Moore very successfully compared to the tenure of Brian Krzanich. So you can see, same company, completely different fortune because of the person steering the ship. So if you have a great business with poor management, it's the reputation of the management that prevails. So, back to the company we're focused on here, Haivision. The founder and CEO is a guy named Mirko Wicha. You see a picture of him on the screen. And he isn't new to success. He has decades of experience in senior management and sales, having started at Hewlett Packard, and then he joined Silicon Graphics. Now, when I found that out, it immediately grabbed my attention. For anyone that doesn't know Silicon Graphics, it was a pioneer in the realm of computer-aided design, visualization, and high-performance computing. Its campus in Silicon Valley is now the Google campus. And Jim Clark, the founder of Silicon Graphics, was a Stanford University professor and an absolute genius. He arguably developed the first GPU long before NVIDIA even existed. And in 1998, it accounted for over 50% of the graphics market. It dominated in high-performance computers for applications like computer-aided design, video editing, scientific visualization. Silicon Graphics worked with Microsoft in the creation of Windows. It developed the GPUs for the Nintendo games consoles, and its technology was used in every film nominated for an Academy Award for visual effects for many, many years, including Jurassic Park, Independence Day, Terminator, Toy Story. It was Silicon Graphics that was behind that. And Jim Clark was at the helm of Silicon Graphics. In fact, Jim Clark signed up this university kid that you probably know, a guy called Mark Andreessen. And Jim Clark, together with Mark Andreessen, developed Netscape Navigator, which was the first internet browser. So why is this all relevant to the pitch today? Well, companies like Silicon Graphics excel by only signing A-list people. These are exceptional people and really high achievers. And Mirko Wicha, the CEO and founder of Haivision, is ex-Silicon Graphics. So that's why the name Silicon Graphics really grabbed my attention here. So after leaving Silicon Graphics, Mirko joined a company called Alias, which is another software company that produced high-end 3D graphic software. While he was there, he turned around their struggling European operations, and that company was later sold, you guessed it, to Silicon Graphics. So what we have here is an A-list player with experience at leading tech firms who founded Haivision, has experienced 2 decades of really strong double-digit growth, with a long-term owner mentality and a passion to take the business to the next level. And as Steve Jobs used to say, the best businesses are run by missionaries, not mercenaries. And what we have here is certainly a missionary. So these qualities are exceptionally rare, and they're exactly what I look for when investing. And in fact, Haivision's entire leadership team is high caliber. Some of them have worked together for over 15 years, and that mix of continuity, deep industry knowledge, and proven success makes them a major strength for the company. And better still, this is a CEO founder with real skin in the game. He and his family own about 14% of the business, which is valued at somewhere around $20 million, which is 20 times his cash comp. So it's very significant. More particularly, he recently added to his holding, buying a large tranche of stock on the open market, which is really great to see, not expecting to be gifted stock as stock-based comp, which is all too common, unfortunately. Insiders at Haivision collectively hold just over 31% of the equity. So there's really good alignment here of interests with internal management and external investors.